Hello and welcome to today's video. This time we're going to be taking a look at another 5 vintage and modern paperback and hardback series that you might want to collect. So sit back, relax, and let's take a look. Okay then, so the first series we're looking at are these. These are American Ace double paperbacks. So let's see, published by Ace, and they are classed as a double novel. Now that is because there's a novel on the one side and you flip it over and then there's another full book on the other side. So a bit of a gimmick, not unique. I have seen this with other publishers, but I think Ace probably did it the best, and they've certainly got quite a lot of collectible books amongst their list here. Now, I predominantly collect science fiction, so after the Ace doubles, they went up to about number 500-600. They go into singles anyway for Ace books, the traditional paperback singles, and I collect those as well. But I thought I'd bring through just a handful of some of the doubles that I've got here. This is number 150. They've got the D prefix, so you know that they are a double. This beautiful Philip K. Dick cover there to The World Jones Made. Very, very nice. In fact, a bit of a classic, that one. Here's D437, a bit of a later one with that nice Andre Norton. The Sioux Spacemen. Very, very nice. D193, EC Tub. And another Philip K. Dick, another great one there. Look at that cover. It's fantastic, isn't it? Here's a crime one. So I think this is pretty much the only non-science fiction one I've got. But, they did other genres as well. The westerns are really nice. As I said, I predominantly pick up the science fiction. But this is a crime one. So we've got Prowl Cop. And My Private Hangman. Look at that. It was either the gallows or the goon. And one more science fiction one here. One Against Eternity. And A. Van Vogt. And a Murray Leinster on the back there. Another absolutely fantastic jacket. So I think they're great fun to collect. As I said, they are numbered, and you could just stick to the science fiction ones like I do, or maybe the crime, whatever sort of genres you're into. Obviously, these are American, and they don't seem to turn up in Britain very often. So a lot of the ones I've got are not in the greatest of conditions, but they are ones that I have found over here. I don't think I've ended up with any that have come from the States, although a couple of them are pretty nice condition. So I'm just wondering, when I did get them, I can't remember when I actually got these, but I've had them quite a while. And when I see an Ace double, whatever genre it is, I tend to pick them up because I think they're brilliant fun and brilliant fun to collect, which is what the whole point of this video actually is. It's giving you a little bit of collecting inspiration possibly, and this is, I think, the 5th or 6th one of these I've done now, and they do go down very well, so I'm hoping you are enjoying them. The next thing to look at then, the next series, is P.G. Woodhouse, and these are in the Everyman library. That's published by Everyman there. Now, these are very much author-specific, so if you don't like P.G. Woodhouse, one of the greatest writers in history, in my opinion, then you're not really going to enjoy this series at all. But Everyman, over the course of, I think it was at least 10 years, pretty much once a month or once every other month, they would publish a brand new, gorgeous P.G. Woodhouse from the archives, and they've all got this very sort of distinctive jacket. I wouldn't say the series had the best jackets. Here's a couple more here. I wouldn't say the series had the best jackets in existence. I think that those for Woodhouse were the ones which, when Arrow started re-releasing them, I think in the early 2000s, and they were beautiful. But these are still very, very nice, and they are uniform. As you can see, this must be the same cover artist, and they go right back to the very earliest, which is this one, of course. So yeah, cost of these is £12 a pop. I have been able to pick up quite a few second-hand in first editions, although I'm not really worried about that too much, for about a £5 a pop. So I was always really, it pays to keep your eyes open. This one here, yeah, this first published ANC Black 1902. This Everyman library, and I said this was the very first one, was 2009. But they are, his entire output has now been done. They've even collected towards the end some of his short stories and essays that appeared in magazines. And as I said, it very much depends on you being a fan of P.G. Woodhouse. I just think he's effortless to read. I mean, absolutely a delight. And when I pick up one of these, because they're just gorgeous to hold and actually read the books, they're just beautiful. So I'm a big fan of them. Now, there's about 90 odd in the full set, and I've got maybe 20, so I'm a long way to go. But they're just a sort of thing, if someone's really stuck for something to get me for a present, I say, get me one of the PG Woodhouses, and I give them a little list of the ones that I've actually got, because I said they're all in print, they're all available through places like Amazon and eBay and ABE Books, which is where I managed to get some for as little as a £5 each, which I thought was really good value for money. So yeah, the Everyman PG Woodhouse Library, just don't they look absolutely gorgeous? They really do. Very much a fan of those. So the next series we're looking at is published by Penguin Books, and it's their hardback King Penguin series. Now, this is a really great series, and one that I have actually completed now. I think these are absolutely gorgeous. Now, I pulled out some of the very earliest ones here. So we got King Penguin #1 there, which was British Birds, and #2, which is a book of roses. Actually, for some reason, got a double of that one. I think one might be possibly signed, but there's like number 2. #3. Now, some of the early ones actually had like card covers, like they're almost like softback as well as hardback, so they do exist in a couple of different editions. But the early ones are quite plain. They're they were public. This series was launched during the Second World War, and they're not particularly spectacular. However, inside, they've all got these fantastic plates, and when you think of the time that these were actually printed, that really was quite amazing in all honesty. Really good. Now, as I said, they're beautiful little hardbacks. That was the first ones. That sculpture of the Parthenon there, this was the very last one that got published. This is number 76. So you have only got 76 to collect. I think from about number 50 they all came in dust wrappers, and I'm pretty sure that my dust wrapper copies, if they came in a dust wrapper, I've actually got a dust wrapper with them. Some of my favourites, like the Bayeux Tapestry, Tulipomania. I think the two most beautiful of all the King Penguin books are these two. So we got Life in an English Village, and this is illustrated by Edward Baldwin, who is a classic sort of British illustrator, and we'll have a look at some of the prints here inside. Absolutely gorgeous style, one that I really love. It's so well observed. He did like posters for the London Underground. One of our great designers and illustrators. He did a little bit for Penguin. I've pretty much got everything he ever did for Penguin, at least, but he was very prolific. Did lots of book covers, did lots for Faber and Faber. But this is just a great one. Really is. This is probably one of the most expensive ones as well. This one goes for about £30 to £40, never issued with a dust wrapper. And this is the other one. This one also is a similar sort of price. Magic Books from Mexico. And this is another one which is an absolute delight, this one. Oh, just look at the illustrations in this. They really are. It's just gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. Quite collectible, this. The whole series is become increasingly collectible as they're they're rapidly aging, shall we say. But they're very good. Now, when the series launched, it was about 1950. It had been going a few years, so there was a few out already. Penguin did publish one of their rather cool catalogues. So they did issue a bookmark, which is this one here, the King Penguin Books, which is just a little promotional bookmark. And they released this pamphlet. It had an order form and a sample page, which is that one there, so you got an idea of the quality of the actual books. And then there was this, at the time, a complete catalogue of all the ones up to that period, up to 1950. The last one I had to get, and I think it's very scarce in first edition, is A Christmas Carol, which they came out as a King Penguin. So that's a tough one to get. The other ones I've just sort of, I got lucky with that one and picked it up for about a tenner. Life in an English Village I ended up getting off a book dealer, because I've never ever come across one in the wild. But most of the other ones are fairly common because they had half decent print runs, so you should be able to find them. There is a great reference book, but once again, this itself is tough to find. The King Penguin series, A Survey, and it is probably it's the definitive book on the subject, Michael Lake. Here we are, published by the Penguin Collectors Society. Sadly out of print. When copies turn up online, they do tend to sell for between £30 and £50. It's probably one of the most collectible books that the Penguin Collectors Society ever published, and they didn't print enough, unfortunately. But as you can see why, it's got the full set in here. That's that one of Tulipomania. I said my other favourite is the Bayeux Tapestry, but there's some great ones. Ballooning is another really nice illustrator. There's that copy of A Christmas Carol, which I said it's so difficult. A few of them had reprints, and I've not gone down the reprint route, although I might. But something like the Bayeux Tapestry, I think, had about 4 or 5 reprints, and the later ones are revised. So if you want to be really comprehensive, then you're going to need to pick those up as well. I've not bothered with those just yet, but I probably would keep them if they came my way, So anyway, that's a really good look at the King Penguin series. It's definitive, in fact, and well worth, there they all are, and well worth tracking down. That's exactly how I've got mine. They're all on one shelf, and they look blimmin' lovely. Okay, the next series we're looking at today is published by Corgi, and it is New Writings in SF. And this was the very first volume here, and these early ones were edited by John Carnell, and these are SF anthologies. And I said this was the very first one. I've managed to pick up, I've got almost all of them in the series. Now there's 30, just the same length as the Pan Book of Horror Stories, ironically. And they had hardback, most of them had hardback as well as paperback editions. So originally published in Great Britain by Dobson, that was in the hardback edition. 1964, and this one was also 1964. Now, if you want a slice of science fiction and you just want a quick hit, a science fiction anthology is what I tend to reach for, and I do that more and more often these days when I fancy reading some science fiction, because I often don't have the time commitment to get stuck into a full-on book. So this one's not too bad. It's got interesting writers there. There's an oldest there, Man on Bridge, but and we know John Carnell, of course. So, yeah, that is volume 1. I pulled out some of the earlier ones. Great cover design on these. I think one of the other big attractions is they're cheap to collect. Generally, even in first edition, and the early ones did get reprinted in the early 70s with new jackets, but even these early first printings are only, £3 to £5 a pop. I feel that the very tail end ones, and I have heard that like number 30, for example, tends to go for good money, but my friend Dorset Bob, the SF specialist, has got at least 3 up there, so I don't quite know if any of them are worth more than any others, shall we say. But I think they're a really great fun series to collect. They did one every single year, and I think they're fantastic. Now, when I've licked the set, I will do a dedicated video on these. I have incidentally, I have done one on the King Penguins, and this is like the tail end of the run. So that's number 29 there, and this was 30. By this point, they were being edited by SF author Kenneth Bulmer, and through the 30 years, you do get to see how the series has very much changed. But let's just see who's in this last volume here. And look at that, another Brian Aldiss. So he was in the first volume and he was in the final volume. I know my friend Steve, the Outlaw bookseller, has got some of these in hardback, and he's also got some signed by the contributors, which is fantastic. There's also quite a funky best of. So this is the best of New Writings in SF, all published by Corgi, and this has got the very cream of the crop. This is a beautiful copy of this one. However, it is slightly spine damaged, and at the time it's the best of the first 20, because there was 20 volumes at this point. This Corgi edition published in 1972, but I said mine's got a sun's spine, but apart from that, it's beautiful. So a great series. I love an SF anthology. I just think they're so accessible, and even if you don't, if you only read, say, 1 or 2 stories from each book, I think that's still worth the price of admission. And at the moment, they're plentiful and they're cheap. So just 30 to collect, and good fun to collect. Okay, the last series we're looking at today is the classic Albatross, and this is the Albatross Continental Library, as they were known. And Albatross were the blueprint to Penguin books, and were published throughout Europe prior to 1932, 1933, 1934. Alan Lane, on one of his numerous trips to Europe, came across the Albatross Library and came back and thought, I'm just going to copy them. And that's pretty much why, or how, the Penguin books came about. they all came in different color-coded covers here. The dimensions are exactly like the modern day A format a paperback, printed on really nice thick quality stock paper. These are gorgeous to collect. They're all numbered as well. This is number 2. I think I pulled down, I haven't actually got number 1, so that's the earliest one I've got, this Aldous Huxley. And the different colours mean different genres basically. Here we are. Yeah, the first one was Dubliners by James Joyce. But they're colourful, they're great fun to collect. They do turn up. Usually if you find a collection of vintage penguins, there's usually 1 or 2 Albatross tucked away in there. I've got now maybe, let's think, I've probably got between 150 and 200, I think. And I think in total there's about 550 to 600. So not even a third of the way there yet. I don't go out my way to buy these. And it's funny, when you see them online, the run of them, any Albatross at all seems to go for between, well, as little as £3 or £4 up to as much as 10 to 15. Most of these came with dust wrappers, so this one's got its dust wrapper on. I tend to take the dust wrappers off because the books just look better on the shelf. They just look tidier and cleaner, so I've probably got these in dust wrappers. The dust wrappers, in actual fact, are quite robust. So this is number 3 here, in actual fact, Man Trap. And I've kept the dust wrapper on it, but underneath, that keeps the book very, very nice indeed. So I do have a bag of dust wrappers, and I tend to keep them off the books, just so that the books look really nice on the shelf. Now, if you're collecting them, the ones to look out for are these red ones. So a bit like Penguin Crime, mainly highly collectible and collectible in their own right, the same is true for the Albatross crime titles, and there are some good ones in the crime library. Let's see if any more crime ones are listed on this particular volume. But the big ones to look out for are, of course, Agatha Christie ones. So explanation of the colour system. So red, stories of adventure and crime. Blue is love. Green is travel, foreign peoples. Purple is biographies. Yellow, psychological novels and essays. Orange, tales and short stories, humorous. I think there's a grey as well, which is plays, I believe. But yeah, the Agatha Christie ones are quite collectible. I think there's either 12 or 14. Of those, at least 8 of them are the first time that those particular Agatha Christie stories were put into paperback form. So they're paperback first editions. Highly collectible, and I've seen them go for upwards of £200 a pop if they're in nice condition with their dust wrappers. I've got 2 Christies and they're both falling to bits, but I only paid a £5 each, so I don't particularly mind. But they're the ones to look out for in particular. Don't ever turn those down. But the other ones, if you fancy collecting it, I think they are really great. And I don't know if any of mine have got it, but some of them, in fact, that's just what I was looking for. Some of them come with a rather nice card, and the cards are also colour-coded, usually to tie in with the colour of the actual book. So if it's a crime one, it might have a red one of these inside. And it's to send off to the Albatross publishers in Paris, 12 Rue Chanis. And this is to get the free copy of the Albatross catalogue, which would be rather nice. I've never even seen one of those. Look, Friends of the Albatross. And look, it's got it's like a suggestion slip as well. Very nice. They're nice, those little bits of ephemera like that. So yeah, I can highly recommend collecting Albatross. Admittedly, some of the books are from the 30s, so the actual authors and the books are, admittedly the best part of almost 100 years old now, believe it or not. But they're at least 90 years old as we film this. And some of them are not going to be, perhaps, you're not going to really want to read them. But amongst the titles, there's some really great stuff in there, and there's bound to be something that you'll enjoy reading even today. So there we are, 5 more superb, I think, series that you might want to collect. Certainly in another month or 2 I shall pull out another 5 different series that might tempt your collecting juices. Certainly I've had great feedback on these, and people love the inspiration to start collecting something a bit different. So if this has inspired you, do please leave a comment below. Obviously do please hit the subscribe button if you've not already for regular vintage paperback and hardback content, and I'll look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye.